Okay, so this is now going to go into quite a low oven. It's going to be about 150 degrees and it's going to sit there for about 2 to 2.5 hours, at which point we can crank it up just to crisp up the skin, and then it can rest, and it wants to rest for a good half an hour. You can rest it after the slow cooking phase and before you crank up to crisp the skin. You can do it that way around, that works just as well. Okay, so here's our chicken that's been in for a couple of hours. What I'm going to do now is just let this sit for a short time and crank the oven up, and then what we'll do is we'll just give it a final little blast for a few minutes to just crisp up these bits here. I don't want to leave it in and turn the oven up, because by the time it gets hot enough to crisp all this up, I'm going to have start to overcook the breast a bit. So I'm just going to be a bit wary of that. I'm just going to let it sit here, turn this up. So let's take it up to about, say, 200 degrees. So I'm working in centigrade now. I'll put a little title to show what that would be in Fahrenheit. And what we could do in the meantime is just maybe baste this a little bit. So let's get a spoon here. Now, you might be able to see there that I put these bits that we took off the chicken, I put them into the dish here for roasting, because they could be useful as part of making a gravy or a stock afterwards. So I'm just roasting them off for that purpose. But you don't have to do that if you don't need to. Obviously we've just done this with salt, we've just kept it completely plain. This is just a simple version, but you could use thyme and lemon, you could use smoked paprika and chili, you could use oregano, you could use curry spices, you could make a curry paste and rub it all over the top. You can do a pesto, roast it in pesto, or you can shove the pesto under the skin, which is really good. So there's loads of different ways you can do this, but there's nothing wrong with just doing it with salt. Don't feel like it's not as good. Here we go. So this is now really nicely crisped up. We can take this out of here. It's all ready to go. Pop it on our board here to rest. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook this liquid down on the hob. See if we can get a really nice little bit of sticky, collagen-y gravy there to spoon over when we're ready to eat. So I'll transfer that across and then see how it goes. So here we go. You can see this is kind of like, if anyone's ever made a caramel, it's kind of like that. You have to make sure that you don't let it get too dark. But as you can see, it's starting to form on the edge of the pan. And that's how you can tell it's basically ready. So that is like a pure chicken kind of sticky, gluey syrup, basically. It's all the collagen, broken down connective tissue from the roast, some of the fats. I've taken some of the clear fat off the top of that as it began to reduce, which stops it being just sort of swimming in the dark fat that we cooked it in. So what we can do with this, just bring it back here and just spoon a little bit over the top here. There we go. And that is going to be absolutely delicious. There we go. Really simple roast chicken. Give it a go.